Welcome. Today we're going to talk about companion planting. What does companion planting mean? It means that you are going to be planting certain vegetables and herbs and flowers together to make this beautiful, healthy soil and garden bed in your backyard garden. I love incorporating herbs and flowers, which I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to go and dive into the tomato bed today. And I'm going to show you what we have planted in this bed. So before we get started, if you're new here, I'm Tasha with The Purposeful You, and I love sharing easy backyard garden tips, DIYs, some sustainable living tips, and just overall just having fun in our little country living here and inspiring you, whether you have an 8x4 garden bed or a pot on your balcony or a large acreage, to just grow some food, grow some flowers and some herbs, and just bring life to those pollinators. At the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to prune tomatoes and also basil to make sure that they are thriving and to get a whole basil forest. Here's the garden bed we're going to talk about today, our tomato bed right here. Now, I want to tell you, if you are going to be building a new garden bed, here's the perfect size: 8 feet by 4 feet. And here's the reason. If your garden bed is longer than 4 feet, then it's going to be really hard to reach in the middle, harvest, and weed. You may even have to stand in the garden bed. So 4 feet wide is the perfect arm's reach to be able to get into everywhere in your garden bed. Okay, so first I'm going to show you that we do irrigation in these garden beds. We do this drip line, comes on in the morning for 15 minutes and comes on at nighttime for 15 minutes. If you can do drip irrigation, it is the best thing for your plants. This has been an absolute game changer for us, and it saves you so much time. It will probably take 2 hours for me to water our whole garden every single day. So if you can, it doesn't have to be that expensive. We put it together ourselves. I'll probably do a video about irrigation in the future. Okay, so in this tomato bed, this is 8 feet long, as I mentioned before. This is 6 tomato plants planted in here. Tomatoes want a little bit of room to breathe. They want good airflow, and they can grow pretty tall. You can choose to trellis tomatoes. You can choose to vine tomatoes. There's a lot of different types of tomatoes. These ones are just cherry tomatoes or larger tomatoes that I did not end up trellising this year, and I ended up using the wires, the wire frames. So, you know, there's pros and cons to everything. This is what we did this year. I may actually string them up and trellis them next year. It just depends what variety you're gonna choose. So I did grow these tomatoes from seed. I love West Coast seeds. And if you want to know what kind of tomatoes these are, I don't remember. I didn't label this year, and I have no idea what kind of tomatoes are in here. But you know what? That is the fun part of gardening, and that's just what happens when you garden. Here is the 2 tomatoes in the front here. Now, I realize that I definitely need to give them a little bit more airflow. So I am going to prune some branches, and I'm going to show you which ones you may want to prune. So see here that there's this one big stem, and then in the corner of this stem is one of these guys. Whoop, they're called a sucker. I'm going to pull this out. Watch this. Yeah, I'm going to pull that out. So suckers, you definitely want to take them out. They just suck the nutrients. That's why we call them suckers. And you're allowed to prune tomatoes however you want, but prune tomato leaves and stems that don't have any flowers on them if you need to create more airflow. And definitely at the base, you want to cut quite a few stems and keep it really clear and open at the base of your tomato plants. So we have some tomatoes that are coming up, which is so exciting. We are just in the first week of August here, so looking forward to some ripe tomatoes at the end of this month. The first thing I always incorporate in the tomato bed is basil. So I grew some basil from seed. I started them indoors and I planted them out here in June. We have 2 basil plants on the side here, and then I did a basil plant in the middle. The next thing I planted in the corners was marigolds, and I did marigolds from seed this year. Oh, it's just so cool. I mean, these can be cut flowers. You can put them in vases. They are just so, so, so gorgeous. The other thing is they just bring greenery in here. They bring the bees in here. And the main reason we plant marigolds in the tomato bed is because they deter the pests. They are stinky. They are a little stinky. So, and you'll find that there won't be as many pests eating your tomatoes if you plant marigolds because they have a good scent to them. This is a different variety from the same florist. Oh, but they're just so delicate and beautiful. Again, they are so beneficial. You can honestly plant these in any of your veggie garden beds. They are stinky, like I said, so they deter the pests away from eating your beautiful vegetables that you're working so hard to grow. Hi, Zozo. Okay, next up we have some room on the side here, so I planted some bush beans. Beans and tomatoes are companion plants, so you can do some bush beans. I chose bush beans because they will stay short, and you know that the tomatoes will grow taller. So see here, this tomato is growing tall and it's growing over the bush bean. So if I had something tall here, they would just compete and it would just not be great. So do some bush beans around the outside of your tomato beds because they, you know, bring another vegetable to your garden. They're short, they have beautiful flowers, and you can pickle beans, you can eat them raw, you can saute them. I love green beans. Okay, the last sneaky thing that I added in this bed, and I don't know if you've noticed because I've had a couple little sneak peeks throughout this video, is carrots. So carrots are another companion plant for tomatoes, and I ended up doing them along the sides of the irrigation. I just found some holes that didn't have anything. The marigolds weren't there, and I planted some carrots in here, and they are doing absolutely fantastic. I only planted them probably, I would say 5-6 weeks ago. So these are going to be perfect to harvest at the end of August, maybe beginning of September. If you're thinking about a fall garden, now is the time to plan it, and I'm going to be planting a lot of carrots throughout the summer. I plant carrots every 3 weeks, to be honest. You can plant some beets. Yeah, definitely look into fall garden planting. You know, you don't have to stop at summertime. Depending on where you are, we are zone 9B here, so we have a little bit longer of a season. Oh, I just love these marigolds. So what did we talk about today? We talked about carrots, we talked about basil, we talked about bush beans, we talked about marigolds in this tomato bed. I hope this was helpful. You know, have fun with your beds, incorporate different vegetables, but do know that some vegetables do not like each other. So don't plant any vegetable that you love in the same bed. You will have to look and see which ones are companion plants, which ones don't like each other. And you know what? It is just all fun. It's all fun to learn, and I hope you learned something here today. Whoop, there's a weed. We're gonna pull that out. Oh, if you're gonna mulch, you can do seedless straw. This is sort of a, I don't know, I would say like a woody compost mix that we did to retain the moisture of your tomatoes. And I put a little extra around the bases just to retain the moisture. And you know what, next year I might do something different. I'm not sure yet. Definitely look into what mulch is best for your garden because it is all about retaining that water, especially in these hot, hot summers. Okay, it's time for the bonus tip. Here's how I create a lot more basil and how I prune it and how you should prune it too to make sure that you have a forest of basil. Here we go. Okay, here's a basil plant. Don't just pick off one leaf when you need some basil. Here's what you're supposed to do. Find a large stem. If you can see here, this is one big stem in the middle, and you'll see all these little shoots coming off. You actually want to cut above the shoots and cut this whole stem off to create more basil shoots. Boom. See that? Now you can use this in pesto, make a beautiful avocado toast. And now this little guy here, these guys will all get bigger and bigger, and this will bush out even more. So that is how you prune basil, folks. Okay, how fun was that? I just love talking about companion planting. I love talking about the garden. I hope you can tell. And I hope that you keep watching because I'm just having fun showing you our backyard garden, what we're planting and what we're gonna be doing throughout the different seasons. We're gonna be doing some fall garden planting soon. So stay tuned on the YouTube channel, subscribe, like this video, share with your friends, and see you next time.